Let's start the podcast.
Can you confirm what the guy said to you to go blank yourself? Is that accurate?
Yeah, multiple times.
And then in that situation you were just talking about, how did you keep your cool?
I understand at the moment my team needed me. I understand that there are plenty of fans and kids in the world watching this game. And me being a grown man, having kids myself, I'm a grown man. My kids could always go back and see that. And anywhere other situation, if it wasn't, in this situation, things may have been, they probably would have been done differently, handled differently by me. But I understand that I have two young children, and to being able to hold myself to a certain standard, which I do, I hold myself to a high standard, and I got to make sure that I uphold that. And that's a big thing for me, is being a guy that upholds himself to a high standard, and never letting guys like him get under your skin, because that's bullcrap.
That was courteous of ESPN and an interview after the game of Kyle Lowry. Thank you for listening to Off the Cliff Sports. Some weeks you don't go on script and you just tear the paper up, throw it away, and you have to go off key with it. We're going to start this episode with my favorite segment, Top of the Cliff. And this week we're inviting to the top of the cliff a very special individual. He's ranked within the top 1,000 billionaires that we have in the world. So that lets you know he got a lot of money. And his name is Mark Stevens. He's the minority owner of the Golden State Warriors. In the game Wednesday night, Warriors and Toronto in Golden State, Kyle Lowry ran for a ball, jumped into the bleachers to try to save a ball, and he landed on one fan, but that fan wasn't Mr. Stevens. Mr. Stevens was a couple seats away, but for some reason he had the nerves to reach over, push Kyle Lowry, and also apparently let off some vulgar slurs towards Mr. Lowry. Now, he didn't call him the N-word, but he called him an MF this and an MF that, apparently, from what all the reports are saying. So we definitely want Mr. Stevens to come to the top of the cliff. And we don't want him to come to the top of the cliff just because of that incident. This afternoon, we found out that the NBA decided to ban, well, let's stop. The NBA at first said that Mr. Stevens was not going to come to any more finals games. At the most, we got 4 more games. What a punishment. After all the backlash, the NBA went back and said, okay, we're going to ban Mr. Stevens for 1 year of games. Wow, a whole 82 games plus playoffs. And fine him $500,000. Mr. Stevens is worth $2.3 billion. $500,000, he probably spend that in a couple days, week maybe at the most. That's what you call privilege rearing its head again. Some people might throw out a racism things. And unfortunately in our world, a lot of stuff goes back to race. Race and privilege. Mr. Stevens, just because he sits on the front row and has $2.3 billion, don't mean you get to touch anybody you want. Especially someone that doesn't even work for you. Now, if Kyle Lowry had decided to say, hey, you push me, let me push you back, there would have been an uproar. Kyle Lowry probably would have got tossed out the game, suspended for the rest of the finals, suspended for some games next year, and also fined. Kyle Lowry only makes $31 million a year. He's not worth $2.3 billion. Mr. Stevens, sometimes you let your real feelings about certain individuals show at the wrong time. And my friend, you decide to do it on national television with millions of people watching. That's a problem we got in the NBA somewhat in Major League Baseball, NFL. You hear a lot of stuff when you're on the sidelines. It really all depends on the stadium you're at and how close the fans are. But unfortunately, if you're not part of the actual action, you probably don't want to be touching the players. I mean, sometimes you can cheer for your team. Sometimes you can say stuff like you suck. I'm okay with those type of things. But there's some stuff we got to get out the game. A little kid touched Russell Westbrook some games back. I mean, it's a kid. So sometimes kids don't understand. But there's also other incident where it's a grown adult. And that adult knows he's safe because he's in that environment. Like all the analysts say, I'm going to have to jump on their side with this, although I'm an everyday Cliff, just like all you everyday Joes, everyday James. A lot of these regular, everyday people are not going to step to some of these professional athletes in a different environment, especially those athletes that we know not all the way stable. We have to stop letting the owners, one, have all the power. All these professional athletes got to realize we got to band together, or they have to band together to take some of their power back. That's how a lot of this will change. If not, we're going to always have these little incidents here and these little incidents there, just like this. Mr. Mark Stevens, I want you to come to the top of the cliff. Once you get at the top of the cliff with me, whatever you do when you get there, that's up to you. But you definitely need to join me on the top of the cliff because you, sir, are a foul individual. I hope you decide to be man enough. Go to Kyle Lowry, apologize like you should, although personally I don't like apologies because it's fake. He pretty much said what he wanted to say to Kyle. It's not anything he didn't say that he would change because that's what he really felt. But for the public eye, he needs to go apologize. Two, he does need to say, okay, Kyle, what's your favorite charity or whatever? Let me donate to your favorite charities and try to start making this thing right. Or the NFL should take some more drastic measures. I'm not going to say because of an incident like this, make him sell his team. He didn't do what the old Clippers owners did. The old Clipper owner was out of control. So I wouldn't say sell his team, but I wouldn't be opposed to like a 5-year ban from NBA games, $5 million on top of that, something of that nature. Or unfortunately, I hate to have to say it because he is owner of Golden State. Maybe along with that, Golden State might lose a couple of draft picks over the next few years. Something needs to be done more than 82 games and $500,000 for a guy that's worth $2.3 billion. Mark Stevens, please join me on the top of the cliff. Folks, we're going to take a quick break and we're going to come back and we're going to get into our show today. Episode titled Jekyll and Hyde. It's ironic that Kyle Lowry is the main reason for this title. We'll be back with you on Off the Cliff Sports. Don't go anywhere. I want to thank all my everyday James and everyday Joes out there for listening in. Off the Cliff Sports Podcast. Jekyll and Hyde. I named that episode Jekyll and Hyde because of Kyle Lowry. Ironically, Kyle Lowry, the first 2 games of the finals, was playing like trash. Game 3 at the O in Oakland, California, Kyle Lowry came to play, and I would probably say he was the player of the game. Kyle Lowry went for 23 points, 9 assists, 5 of 9 on 3-pointers. An incident with a fan. He was all over the place. He, along with the rest of the starters for the Toronto Raptors, overpowered a depleted Golden State Warriors team who only had 1.5 players playing in the game. Steph Curry went for 47 large. He was unbelievable. But the fact that he didn't have any other players on the court was all for naught. Draymond didn't have a good game. DeMarcus Cousins, after having a great game too, and looked like, wait a minute, he might be a factor. The realization that he has been injured and he doesn't have any wind, he doesn't have any lift. We figured all that out pretty early on in the first half of Game 3. Pretty much what we have coming up for you. By the time you hear this episode, either Toronto's going to be up 3-1 with a chance to close out the finals at home, or Steph Curry would have been rallied the troops, and Golden State will be tied 2-2. I actually personally thought Golden State was going to win this finals in 5 games. I didn't know the extra injury to Klay Thompson and the injury to Looney were going to come up. So I'm a little bit off. I still think Golden State is in the driver's seat, ironically, and they're down 2-1. If people remember back, there's this guy named Michael Jordan and his buddy Scottie Pippen who went up against a Utah Jazz team that started out in a good position, chance to go up on the Bulls, and we know what happened back in that three-peat era. The Raptors starters all scored over 17 points. That's unbelievable. And playing that type of ball is going to win. The Raptors hit 17 three-pointers, shot 44%. With them playing like that, even with Steph Curry going for 47, they couldn't win. Steph Curry needed Draymond to be big. He needed Cousins to be in double figures, and he needed one of those guys off the bench to hit a couple big shots. McKee, he hit a 3. Jerebko hit a 3, but they didn't hit the 3 when it needed to be hit. That's the whole key. The Warriors got it down to 7 points at a few times, and all they needed was one defensive stop and one big shot that could have put Toronto on their heels, but that didn't happen. This finals is heating up. You got the Drake effect. Warriors won. Talk smack to Drake. Raptors win. Drake get the fire back. And like I said on the last episode, all these guys are friends. So it's really all for fun, but people on the outside that don't really know that, they're not really big in the music industry and in the hip-hop era. If you don't know things like this, you would think it's serious, but these guys, they hang out in the summertime. They all like kicking it in Calabasas and all that jazz. Finals are heating up. I'm still going with the Warriors because I just believe this dynasty is meant to be. The three-peat is meant to happen. And we'll see what happens from there. Let's get into some other NBA talk while we're talking NBA anyway. Word on the street is Kyrie Irving has narrowed his choices down to playing for the Brooklyn Nets or coming to LA. We'll see how that happens. I mean, I think Kyrie realized that he's not that guy. Well, okay, I don't think he realized that, but I think he finally figured out it's harder than I thought to be a man. I don't think he liked how things went down in Boston. I believe he realizes that those younger players are looking at him sideways, the way he talked to them. Similar to what happened with LeBron in LA, although I think LeBron tried to let the youngsters know, hey, I want you to succeed, but I don't have time to wait till you develop because my time is ticking. I really think Kyrie's going to pull the trigger on that Brooklyn thing. Now, the question is Kevin Durant going to join him in Brooklyn, or is Kevin Durant going to go over to the other side, Madison Square Garden, and play for the Knicks? To be honest, I don't see how players can play for James Dolan, but I guess when you're doling out millions of dollars, you can't really turn that down, especially when it can support your family and help your family. I really think Durant is going to be a Knick. Now, the next question in my head is, are the Knicks and the Pelicans going to go ahead and get RJ and Zion on the same team? I just like watching those two guys play together. So that's kind of my hoop dream, I guess you would say. I know the Nets as of this podcast, they made a deal to trade one of their pretty high salaries, Alan Crabb, role player. They traded him away to open up some more cap space. So they're preparing themselves to pull in two big fish, or one big fish and D'Angelo Russell, which I don't think D'Angelo Russell and Kyrie fits together. That's just not a good match if you ask me. But what do I know? I'm just an everyday Cliff. We also have Anthony Davis still wanting a trade. How is that going to play out? The Atlanta Hawks, who just traded with the Nets, have 3 first-round picks, 8, 10, and 17. What can the Hawks turn that 8, 10, and 17 into? When you got 3 picks like that in the first round, you got to have at least one stud and one really good role player come out of that, or trade for a superstar. They got to figure out what to do with those picks, or their plan. I really wonder what they plan. They got Trae Young. He's going to be there a while. How they're going to work things around Trae Young. I think this free agency is going to be really good. We got a lot of things happening, and I think we're going to have some people knocking on some people's door. We're going to have some players move that you didn't think were going to move. And like I always say in the NBA, a lot of money will be spent. That's what they do. They spend money. Kawhi Leonard, free agent. People saying he's bought a house up in Toronto. That's cool. That doesn't mean he's going to stay there, folks. Just because he bought a house, I mean, they're in the NBA. They can travel. They can move around. I really think Kawhi Leonard is going to come. I honestly think he's a Clipper. I think the Clippers might be the team for him. Now, as I said before, the shocker is if Kawhi decides to say, hey, let me go take Kevin Durant's spot and join the Warriors. That would put a lot of people on their backs. But a lot of folks say his uncle's not going to let that happen. So, only time will tell what happens in that situation. We definitely get into more free agency in the NBA after the finals and closer to the draft time so we can see how things pan out. Other NBA news, Vince Carter, who's been playing forever, said he's going to retire after this next season. He's had a great highlight field career. No championships to come to mind, but had a great highlight field career. So that's great for Vince. All right, folks. When we come back, we're going to get into some other sports. We're going to let this basketball thing go for now. We'll be back on Off the Cliff Sports. Stay with us. Don't go anywhere. Hey, remember you can follow us at Cliff_sports on Twitter, Off the Cliff_sports Instagram. The episodes are on iTunes, Podbean.com, and YouTube. Go check us out. Tell your friends and family. So the NHL Stanley Cup finals are ongoing. We've had suspension. We've had a concussion. And we've had now the visiting team winning multiple games. As of this podcast, the St. Louis Blues are up 3-2 over the Boston Bruins. After a Game 5 where we had a goal that was reviewed, looks like it was a goal, but apparently the officials did not get conclusive evidence to say it was a goal. So that didn't count. And then you had a no call, which led to the game clinching goal for the Blues. I am a little upset because I picked the Bruins to win in 6. And now the only way the Bruins can win is in 7. So, an everyday Cliff, as myself, is not always right. Sometimes I'm wrong. It looks like St. Louis just wants it more from what I'm seeing. After Game 3, it was like, yeah, Boston's got this thing in the bag, but these last 2 games, the will of the St. Louis Blues has been very strong, and now they get to try to go home and finish this thing off. I hope they don't make the same mistake that the Dallas Stars made back in the second round when the Blues in Game 6 went to Dallas and was able to take this thing back home to St. Louis. If Boston wins Game 6, they will win Game 7. Hands down. That's the only way I think that'll play out. But it's been very entertaining. This game, it wasn't a lot of scoring, so it was kind of like, But for the most part, the other games, we've had multiple goals scored, pretty high scoring games for hockey. Makes it a little exciting to watch. I still got my money on the Boston Bruins. They just need to regroup, come back out, and get things done. You can't put it in the hands of the officials. You got to just make sure. We'll see how things pan out. The next game will be Sunday. So we have a little break between games. And hope everybody gets a chance to watch. It is on national television, so no excuses, folks. Go check out some Stanley Cup action. Just got this clip in, courtesy of ESPN. Barry Melrose, who knows everything about hockey, talking about that missed call that gave the Blues the win in Game 5.
Well, unfortunately, the story of the game is going to be a late penalty or non-penalty that happened in the game. Noel Acciari was tripped by Bozak. Acciari thought the play was going to stop and the penalty was going to be called, so he quit playing. Bozak actually looked like he thought there was going to be a penalty also. Bottom line is the Boston Bruins quit playing. The puck ended up in St. Louis Blues stick. They made 2 or 3 passes, walked to the front of the net, threw it side to side, and the puck ended up going in. So it was a terrible way for this game to be decided. It certainly looked like a penalty for all of us who were in watching this game in the building. It's something that the referees certainly don't want to happen, something that the NHL certainly doesn't want to happen, but it does look like a blown call. A penalty should have been called on it, and obviously the winning goal wouldn't have been scored on that play.
We know what that means. Game 6, the St. Louis Blues better be careful because they may get some calls that don't go their way. I'm just saying. All right, folks, we're going to leave hockey for now. I can tell you the French Open tennis tournament is still going on over in Paris, France. There is a young 17-year-old named Amanda Anisimova, an American that's in the semifinals. She's the only American in the semifinals for the women's side. Serena lost. Sloane Stephens lost. Madison Keys lost. So she is the U.S. hope of bringing the title back across the water. We're not going to talk about the men's because we didn't have a man from the U.S. get past the second round. I don't know what the deal is about us not being able to swing those tennis rackets just as good as Nadal, Federer, and some of the other studs from other places in the world. Guys, we're going to come back on Off the Cliff Sports. We're going to get into some NFL. I know people likes that. We had a big contract signing out there. I wonder who. I'll let you know when we come back to Off the Cliff Sports. Back on Off the Cliff Sports here. I gotta say, I have to apologize for some of the things I say on our Twitter account. I kind of made some statements and Twitter kind of censored me and said, hey, you can't say that. So I have to realize that I'm talking to more than just the everyday Joes and the everyday Janes out there. I'm talking to some people that may not like what I got to say. That's just something I have to think about and remember. Anyway, on to the NFL. Carson Wentz, the Philadelphia Eagles, signed him a nice little 4-year, $107 million guaranteed extension. The deal is worth up to 140 plus million, but that 107 is guaranteed, which 66 million of that went into his pocket once he signed that contract in the form of a signing bonus. Philly is going all in on Wentz. I think Wentz is a good quarterback, but like some of my friends say, hey, he didn't win in the playoff for him. That was Nick Foles. I think Carson Wentz has the ability to lead them back to the playoff and get some wins in the playoff. He has a nice arm. The question is, can he stay healthy? So durability is a big question for Carson Wentz. With Wentz signing his big contract, there's another team in the NFC East. They reside in Dallas, Texas, who quarterback is in the same situation. Now the question is, are the Cowboys going to pay Dak Prescott, Carson Wentz type money? Or are they going to try to get him to take a hometown discount? There's been talk off and on about Dak's agent and the Cowboys communicating. The question is Prescott and $30 million plus a year. Dak is a good quarterback, but I can't put Dak Prescott up into a top 10 category of quarterback. He might come in around top 15, top 15, top 18, somewhere in that range. So Dallas Cowboys got a lot of decisions to make, and seeing if they can get the right amount of money on the table so they can also sign Ezekiel Elliott and Amari Cooper. Because without those two, Dak is not worth a lot. Other NFL news, Gerald McCoy, who was cut by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, signed with the Carolina Panthers. I wonder why. Signing with a team in the division, so you get to play Tampa Bay twice a year. You know he's going to be up for those games. The best part about it, the Carolina is switching over to a 3-4 defense, something that Tampa Bay was doing also. And McCoy is going to fit in with that defensive line that also features Keon Short. They're going to have a big front three in Carolina. Maybe those linebackers will be able to get free and do what they normally do. Lots of tackles. Up in the Northeast, there's been talk about Rob Gronkowski actually playing this year. That hasn't come from him. Gronkowski said he's retired, and that's it. But different people in the organization are saying they believe Gronkowski, once the training camp kicks in, he's going to be ready to come back, get on the field, and give them what he got. Without Gronkowski, the Patriots are going to look a lot different. So there's a good question on whether or not they can succeed without him. Only time will tell. Only time will tell. I think New England probably is going to take a step back, but in their division, they're probably going to win like they always do. They don't have any competition. You also got up in Cleveland a little beef, kind of started by Baker Mayfield. He called out Duke Johnson, one of the running backs. Duke Johnson actually is requesting a trade. I don't think he wants to be part of the timeshare running back and the way the balls are going to have to be spread out in Cleveland. He may not get a lot of work. Baker Mayfield is coming in, seems like with that same attitude he had in college. I hope he realized these guys in the pros are not the same type of guys. You can't necessarily talk to them the same way you can some of those college guys. All in all, though, a lot of people is putting high expectations on the Cleveland Browns. Baker never won a national championship in college because he couldn't figure it out when it got down to crunch time. Will he be able to figure it out in Cleveland? We'll find out this year. He's only in his second year, though, so you can't put that much on him. Although the way Cleveland is moving, players they're grabbing, they're going for it all. Clay Matthews is went over to the Rams to try to start his career again. I think Clay's old. He's getting up there. I don't know if his speed is the same as before. He has the intelligence of playing the position, but nowadays your linebackers got to cover all over the field if they're going to be out there because teams are going to spread them out. On the offensive side of the ball, the Rams are looking to be a little smarter with Todd Gurley. He has a few knee issues. I call it arthritis. And they got to use him a little different. So they really do need that second running back that could take some of that pressure off. Because for the Rams, it's Super Bowl or bust. There's no middle ground. You got to get to the Super Bowl, and this time you got to win it. I know the New Orleans Saints are going to have a lot to say about this because their mantra should be the same thing, Super Bowl or bust. This could be Drew Brees' last season. He's not saying it, but I'm going to say it for him. It's been around a while. Might be time to hang it up. So you have two teams already Super Bowl or bust in the NFC. What other teams out there are going to join them? If you guys feel you have a team that you think should be in the Super Bowl or bust category, let me know. Cliff Jacks. Tweet me, Instagram message, Gmail me, comment on the Podbean site or the YouTube site. NFC, we know where everything is going. Unfortunately, New England is still there because they have 2 games with Miami, 2 games with Buffalo, and 2 games with the Jets. So that's 6 games, which will equal division title. It doesn't matter what happened in the other 10 games. Those 6 games alone are going to win their division. That's crazy. The NFL needs to look at this division thing and shuffle some stuff. Just go to the best 6 teams in the conference. I like shake-up in sports. I want to keep people off a normal schedule. Make it helter-skelter. We're going to see how things. One last topic in the NFL for you guys. I read a nice little piece from Tez Paylor, a Yahoo Sports writer. The article was about marijuana and will that be a costly bargaining chip for the NFL players. I think the marijuana usage and pain tolerance should be a topic when they go to the table. But for me personally, in all honesty, I think that guaranteed contracts and getting rid of the franchise tag should be 1 and 2. That guaranteed money can help a lot of those players and will solve a lot of issues. Getting rid of the franchise tag can open the NFL game up to more change, more players going different places, and a lot of other things as well. I really don't see the NFL moving on this marijuana thing until you see more states legalize the recreational use of the marijuana drug, because you can have players with medical issues have it, but I think once it becomes more open in more states, then I think the players will have a valid argument for it. But currently, with the NFL being a private institute, I don't see that happening. But you never know. If the Players Association leadership go in there firm, things can happen. I also think we might have a strike coming on our hands. You heard it here. A strike may be looming in the NFL. I know that sucks for us fans though. Guys, we got some quick takes for you when we come back on Off the Cliff Sports. Of course, we also have a quote of the day. Can't never leave without giving you that quote of the day. Hopefully it inspires some of you guys out there. And to hear the quote is at the end. That means you listen to the whole podcast. We're coming back on Off the Cliff Sports. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to episode 22 of Off the Cliff Sports. I call it Jekyll and Hyde. Jekyll and Hyde can also be used for Mr. Joshua, boxing heavyweight champion of the world, or should I say former heavyweight champion of the world. Joshua had his first fight at Madison Square Garden, came over to the United States to have a championship bout, and he was knocked out, or technical knockout, to a gentleman by the name of Andy Ruiz Jr. Andy Ruiz Jr. is, I think, 33 years old, if I'm not mistaken, from Mexico, of course, and a lot of people's making fun because he kind of reminds you of Butterbean. There's no way that he should be the heavyweight champion of the world, per se, based on the experts, because of his looks. Well, looks were deceiving because, as I said, Jekyll and Hyde, Joshua and Ruiz looked like different people when they was in that squared ring. Ruiz pounded Joshua, knocked him down 4 times total, and for the most part, Joshua looks like he wasn't there. It honestly reminds me a little bit back of Mike Tyson and Buster Douglas, when Buster Douglas won out of nowhere. Ruiz is a professional fighter, though, and he has a wonderful boxing record. People just thought this was a tune-up fight. Everybody wanted to see Joshua and Wilder. That's all gone to smoke. Boxing, you can never judge a book, because sometimes you'll think it's Jekyll and it ends up being Hyde, or vice versa. Now Andy Ruiz Jr. is in a position where he can get another fight, probably get a nice payday for that next fight because he is the champ. And like he said in one of his press conferences, it's going to change him and his family's life. I congratulate Andy Ruiz on becoming the heavyweight champion of the world. Good luck on your next fight. Me personally, Andy, I would go fight some little scrub, try to see if I get a second win, then go for the mega fight. That's boxing for you. Next quick take for you guys. We have the RBC Canadian Open going on right now. This tournament is normally the week before the US Open. So you got a lot of golfers who are trying to fine-tune their skills and also try to prepare for what we call Tiger Mania. Tiger isn't in this tournament. He's getting ready for the US Open and looking to win that next major. I think Tiger has another major in him this year. I don't know if it's going to be the US or the British, or I think they now call the British Open the Open. But I think Tiger has one in him. I'm happy that he played last week to get a tune-up. He was out there. He played all 4 days to get his body ready, get a rhythm going, and hopefully he'll come into the US Open firing on Thursday. He plays late Thursday, which I think is a benefit for Tiger. I like him on that first day late. He can kind of see how the field is played, and I think it helps him warm up playing later in the day than that early morning. He's getting old like the rest of us everyday Joes and Janes, so it takes your body a little more to get warmed up. I hope Tiger the best out there. We're coming down to the end of the French Open tennis tournament also. No Americans in the finals. We did have the young lady, Amanda, that was in the semis. Congratulations on her, the furthest she's been in a tournament of this magnitude. So we got to get our American men's to figure this tennis thing out. We're just nowhere to be found in men's tennis. I don't understand because we have a lot of tennis complexes like in big tennis going on in New York and Florida and California. Don't know why we can't get where we need to be. It's strange to me. Tennis is a sport we just can't get the handle on. We can get the handle on all these other sports, but tennis, that's not us. It's weird. All right, guys. Those are your quick takes for today. We're going to come back, give you your quote of the day, and get you guys out of here. Off the Cliff Sports. Tell your friends about us. Thank you for listening to Off the Cliff Sports. We had a great episode today. Your quote of the day is going to come from the greatest basketball player of all time, Michael Jeffrey Jordan. That quote is, "You have to expect things of yourself before you can do them." Again, you have to expect things of yourself before you can do them. That's from the great Michael Jordan. I know he's somewhere watching the finals. I wonder, is he saying, "Man, Kawhi, you look more like me than I ever thought"? Or is he just saying, "These guys don't know what it means to be champs. I'm not seeing enough out of any of them"? Guys, I appreciate you listening to Off the Cliff Sports. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And until next week, we out of here. Peace.